Okay, well, here we are. It's a great day for a ride, so what I thought I might do is take you on a bit of a journey through the city of Perth and just show you my hometown. Along the way we're going through some of the major arteries, and then I'll be pointing out a couple of highlights of the city, even though we're on the bike, and I might, because I'm just riding all the time, so it's hard to pull up and sort of, because I haven't got my external camera with me, so it's all done with the GoPro. But anyway, hopefully you'll get a bit of an idea of what our city is like. At the moment we're on the back roads heading into the city. This is the township of, or the suburb of Midland, and as you can see, weather-wise, it's absolutely glorious out there today. So that was the catalyst for me to jump on the bike and take you on a bit of a journey through Perth. We're into spring at the moment here in Perth, thank heaven. We've had a long, wet winter. We had about 760 odd mils of rain in the winter. Everybody's sort of chomping at the bit to enjoy the spring weather, which has come up now. So moving right along here. This is another suburb. We went through Midland. Now we're going through a place called Hazelmere, and still on our way into the city. Just a bit of background about myself. I'm retired now, and I used to drive coaches for a living and take tourists on these city tours. So I thought, what better way to show you the city and do it on the bike. Okay, just in the distance there you can actually see a bit of the skyline of Perth, and Perth has got a population of 2.5 million people. The river on the left-hand side, that's the Swan River. It was named by a Dutchman by the name of Willem de Vlaming. Oh God, no, I haven't done it for a long time. Yeah, Willem de Vlaming, he's the gentleman that named the river. It was originally he called it the Zwarte Zwaandrift, which is Dutch for the Swan River, or the Black Swan River actually, but over the years it's changed its name to the Swan River. Okay, now we're heading out to one of our new stadiums here. It's the Optus Stadium. It has seating for 60,000 people, and it's generally used for football, which is the Australian rules football, of course, and also cricket for those that English people, POMs, and I say that we're not being offensive or anything like that, but we're having one of the test matches here in December, January, and the English will be playing the Aussies here at Optus Stadium, and it was completed at the beginning of this year, and we had some Australian rules football matches here, and also some concerts were held here as well. It's a great stadium. It's one of the most modern in the Southern Hemisphere, and as I said, has seating for some 60,000 people. The area that we're riding through here towards the stadium is known as Burswood Park, and also we have the Crown Casino, which I'll point out later on as we head out again. But Burswood Park was named after a chappie by the name of Henry Campfield, who originally, when he came out here, settled in the area, and he actually then named the area Burswood Park after his hometown in Kent, in England. Now the big white building on the left-hand side as we come up here, that is the Crown Casino. It was formerly owned by James Packer, but he has since stepped down, and now it's still known as the Crown Casino, and of course he has casinos all over the world. Alright, we're heading into Perth now, and going on to Canning Highway, but we're taking a left-hand turn here towards Victoria Park, and then we'll be crossing over the Swan River to make our way into the city. So again, as you can see here, lush green grass around, and the trees, most of the trees here are all eucalypts, and they sort of kept it in line with the natural theme here, not having to water the grass all the time, and if they do, they use bore water or groundwater, and that keeps everything nice and clean. So just waiting here for the lights to turn green, and then we'll be on our way again. As we cross over the river, we're crossing over two bridges which are called the Causeway, and the original bridges were built back in the 1940s, and they were actually built out of timber, with timbered pylons, and then the old rickety ballot, can't think of the word now, but yeah, built of timber, and they were because of the timbers getting rotten very quickly because of the river, and they decided that they would rebuild the bridges out of concrete pylons, and the bridge has been sort of maintained ever since. It's sometimes quite interesting. There's signs on the left and right hand side of these bridges which says no fishing from bridges, but of course on a nice balmy summer evening you get a few people standing on the bridges with their lines and trying to catch some fish. We also get dolphins in the river as well, surprisingly. The river is actually sort of a brackish sort of water. It's a mixture of fresh water and salt water, and hence sometimes we do get the dolphins coming up chasing the fish up the river. And we're just crossing over an island before we get to the next bridge, and the island is known as Harrison Island, and it's again a bit of a popular playground for people for picnics and things like that. In the distance, a couple of the high-rise buildings, and then as we come around the corner here, we've got the police headquarters on the left-hand side. This big building coming up on the left-hand side, and this is where police headquarters is located. And I think I mentioned it, but anyway, I'll do it again. Okay, so we're coming up on ahead of us there. You can see those big light towers there, and that's the Wacker ground. Now, for all the POMs out there that know about cricket, they have probably heard about the Wacker, because this is where Australia lost one of the Ashes series to the POMs, and that's where it's played there at the Wacker ground. All right, we're actually in the city now. This is Hay Street, but I'm turning left here, heading down towards St George's Terrace. And as we pull up at the lights just at the bottom here, across the road from the lights is the home of the Governor-General of Western Australia. And now we're turning left onto St George's Terrace, and at the next set of lights we'll be turning right and heading down towards the Swan River again. Just coming up on the right hand side here is the Perth Concert Hall, and it has a 1900 seat auditorium, and is home to the West Australian Symphony Orchestra as well. And there's quite a few concerts held there, and it's a popular venue for artists here in WA as well. Alright, turning right down onto Victoria Street and heading down towards the Swan River. Now, the Swan River actually starts its journey right up in the hills of Perth, and it follows the city structure all the way down to the harbour town of Fremantle, and by the time it hits Fremantle, the river is actually around about 290 odd kilometres long. So it's quite a massive length of river, and it's used for all sorts of parasailing, you name it, it's used for all those activities. This park on the left-hand side is known as Langley Park, and it's a popular park. There's a lot of sporting activities held there, baseball, t-ball, occasionally cricket, but also a lot of office workers come down here to the park just to relax on their lunch break. And it's also the first airfield that was built here in Western Australia, or here in Perth, and to this day it is still registered as an airfield, and every now and then they land a light plane on there just so that they keep up with the registration of the airfield as such. Now, if you've heard of the Red Bull Air Race, a few years back we held the Red Bull Air Race here in Perth, and the Langley Park was actually used to house all those planes. And then they set up a lot of the pylons on the river, and the pilots went and did their crazy manoeuvres along the river. Okay, as we move along here on the right hand side, another park here called Queen's Garden, and there's a statue in there of J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan. There's only about 3 throughout the world, and we have one of them. Again, as we come up here, you can see the light towers of the Wacker, and the Wacker now, because we have the new Optus Stadium, we don't get to play many test matches here at the Wacker anymore, and it's sort of more used for local cricket. On the left hand side, the archway there, that's Gloucester Park. That's the harness racing venue here in Perth, and also very, very popular in the summer months. A lot of people come down here and watch the harness racing on the weekends. As we come up further here on the right hand side, there's a private college here called Trinity College, and students that frequent the college here usually come from the regional areas, and when the school holidays are on again, around about Christmas time, they all go back to their respective regional areas, and once the schools resume again, they're back in here. It's like a bit of something like a bit of a boarding college. And now we're still travelling parallel to the Swan River, which is to the right of us, and in the distance there, just there, you might just see it, the 2 archways there. That's a walkway, a bridge crossing the Swan River from this area here, from East Perth, across to the Optus Stadium, which makes it quite easy for people. They can park here on the left-hand side and all along here, and then just make their way across the bridge to Optus Stadium. Now, this part of Perth, as I mentioned, is East Perth, and there was a coal-powered station here, electric station, power station I should say, and it was quite a grotty area here, a lot of old houses here, and back in the early 70s the government decided that things had to change, so they got in here with investors, and just on the left hand side you can see some of the old original homes here, and of course all the new modern apartments here, 1-room, 2-room apartments. And at the time, once the area was completed, they were selling these apartments for anywhere up to $1.5 to $3 million. And even now, with the real estate market the way it is at the moment, you'd be lucky to get something here for $2 million. So it's a nice area, great views, and it's as I said, it's known as East Perth. There's another park as we come down the road here, another park just at the bottom here where people come down here for picnics. There's barbecues, which cost about 20 cents, so you can bring your steaks and salads and things like that here down here, make use of the free facilities, and just have a great day out. Alright, as you can see here, all modern buildings, small shopping centres, and yeah, East Perth, very modern living. Okay, as we're moving along here, The big tower that you can see just there, that's the original town hall with the clock face there, and it was completed in 1897, and it's still used today for various functions. And we're turning right onto Barrack Street now, and we're going to go across to Northbridge, which is our entertainment area of Perth. A lot of nightclubs there, restaurants. There's about 300 restaurants in Northbridge. So any cuisine that your heart desires, you'll find it here in Northbridge. You might be thinking, well, you know, the streets are pretty empty for a main street, but this is pretty early in the morning, and a lot of the shops haven't opened yet, and people are just making their way to their various jobs. On the left-hand side, there's the Perth railway station. We'll come to that later on again too. Now, this old building on the corner here on the left-hand side, that was the original police station here in Perth, and also the police courts, where if you had a traffic infringement or a minor infringement, you would face the magistrate at the police courts. The building on the left here, as we come up here, that is the Perth Museum and Art Gallery. It's undergoing a $3 million facelift, and it should all be ready by sometime next year. Coming down into Northbridge here, we're turning right onto William Street, which runs north-south. Now, just further down the road here, and we'll be turning left at the lights and pulling up for a short minute. Just want to point out, this is my old home stomping ground when I was a teenager back in the 60s, and the house that I grew up in is still here. It's actually under heritage listing now, and it's been redeveloped, and it's still the original house, and the rooms inside are all still in the original order, but that's the place just there where that red car is. Okay, leaving that area there, we're coming down to one of the main arteries here in Northbridge, and this is where, of course, a lot of your restaurants are here on this main drag here, known as James Street. The park on the left-hand side is called Russell Square, popular venue for entertainment, street musicians, and a whole heap of other entertainment during the summer months in the evenings. So yeah, a lot of the restaurants here on James Street. This area on the weekends, come Friday night right through to Sunday night, is jam-packed, and a lot of the al fresco dining restaurants here are chock-a-block, or as you full to capacity, so to speak. But it's a lovely area, nice area. It's always been all the people that run the shops and restaurants. It's a bit of a community thing, and they try and look after the area as much as possible. Sometimes it has a bit of a reputation where police are called in every now and then for various offences and stuff like that, but all the people here in the area sort of try and knock the what's the word I'm looking for? Most of your business owners here in Northbridge, they endeavour to make sure that there's little disruption to the general public in terms of vandals or something, anything like that. Now, we're crossing over the Horseshoe Bridge, which is one of the oldest bridges here in Perth, and it was designed this way as a horseshoe because back in the early days the hill that was here was a lot steeper. By the way, that's the Perth railway station on the left-hand side, and the Horseshoe Bridge was actually designed so that the horse and cart at the time could actually traverse the hill that was here. The hill was, of course, a lot steeper, so and the poor old horses pulling the carts with all their loads could barely make it up the hill. So they decided that they would build the Horseshoe Bridge and make it a lot easier. We're on William Street now, heading south, and again this is one of the major thoroughfares through the city of Perth. And the green and silver bus here, just in front of us, that's part of the public transport system here. Free buses, not free buses, but city buses. But within the city block, catching one of these buses, the fare is free. Okay. But from the outer suburbs into the city, obviously you're paying your fare. Okay. So further down here on William Street, we'll be turning right onto St George's Terrace, and St George's Terrace again is one of the major arteries here in the CBD, Central Business District, and it runs east-west. We'll be turning right and heading west up towards the hill towards Kings Park. Now this part of Perth, there's a lot of insurance companies have their offices here, and also mining companies and airlines. A lot of the airlines have their offices here. The old building on the left-hand side used to once be the home to the West Australian newspaper, which is now located elsewhere. Just coming up here on the left-hand side, this limestone building here that you can see on the left, that was the original boys' school here in Perth back in the days of settlement. Okay, and it was built back in 1870s, and it was home to the first. It was the first boys' school here. Okay, moving right along here on St George's Terrace. In the distance there, a few more high-rise buildings. Of course, traffic's starting to pick up now here. So taking it just a bit easy here. Okay, as we move along here on the terrace, speed limit here in Perth in the city area, 40 k's an hour, which makes sense because there's always people crossing it across the road without using the pedestrian crossings and stuff like that, so you just got to take it nice and easy. Okay, as we come up here to the onto the hill here, just in the distance there you might just get a glimpse of it. It's the old arch, barracks arch, which was originally a army barracks, and when they built the freeway they demolished most of it but left the archway there for us. And up on the hill there on the right, you might have just caught a glimpse of it, is the Parliament House here of Western Australia. That's where all the politicians make the decisions for here, for Perth, for Western Australia. And as we come up here onto the up the hill, on top of the hill here, we'll be turning left into Kings Park, Fraser Avenue it's called, and the trees here on the left and right hand side, they're lemon scented ghost gum trees, and it's a beautiful park, this park here, and it's the area is about 400 hectare of natural bushland and botanical gardens, and you get a great view of the city and the Swan River. Unfortunately, they've taken away all the parking spots here on the left-hand side, so sadly we can't pull up here and have a look, but I'll just sort of try and get the camera across, and you can see a bit of the skyline there and the Swan River, and it makes for some fantastic photographs here, and there's a lot of overseas visitors come here, and the idea is that if you haven't been to Kings Park, you haven't seen Perth. That's the storyline. But very, very popular, and also a lot of grassed areas, so people can have barbecues and enjoy the day out with the family. The statue on the right-hand side there, that is of Lord John Forrest, and he was one of our elder statesmen. He was the first Premier, first Governor of Western Australia, and eventually he became Defence Minister in the Australian Government. And he was also responsible for giving us this park, which back in the 1800s, mid-1800s, was 170 odd hectares of public land, which he made available, or said it had to be made available for public use. And of course over the years now it has grown to just over 400 hectare. On the left hand side, as we turn the corner, that is all part of the botanical garden. Kangaroo paws, the little red ones, and the yellow ones there, they're all kangaroo paws. And of course a lot of your eucalypt trees here. And there's of course an abundance of wildflowers here during the wildflower season, which actually kicks off at sort of end of August into September, and then through to November. So yeah, well worth, if you're ever coming to visit Perth, Western Australia, you must make time for Kings Park. Believe you me, it's worth the journey. Okay, we're almost coming to the end of our little trip, and as we turn left here, down at the bottom, we'll be turning left again, and in the distance you'll get a glimpse of the University of Western Australia. So look folks, I hope you have enjoyed this little tour around my hometown, and if you ever come to visit Western Australia, Perth, Western Australia, maybe you've got a bit of an idea now what to look for, and where to go for eating and so on. So thanks for watching folks, and stay safe. Bye for now.